Well, hello there. Right, I've been away for 3 days. For the very few of you that may have seen a past video and heard me mention it last week, just had a long weekend. Well, a weekend. It wasn't a long weekend in Budapest Stag Weekend. Yes, I know what many will be thinking. A man of my age on a stag weekend. It can work sometimes in some areas. I'm not sure it works in Budapest. Nothing against the guys I went away with. There was a party of about 17, 18, 20 people. It was a big party. Went very well. All nice people, no trouble of any kind, everything great there, but I don't think it was for me. I didn't get to see any of Budapest's famous architecture. I wasn't in that part of the town, didn't get anywhere near the Danube. I'm not particularly a big sightseer anyway, but would have probably liked to have seen more. I didn't find the pubs that great, and we spent a lot of time in pubs. The clubs, they just weren't for me. It was like, I would suggest they're probably more akin to an 18 to 30 year old as opposed to someone in the 60s. The music was like bang, 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 bang. They were absolutely rammed with people, or young people should I say. Not a Frank Sinatra, D. Martin song in sight. No Glenn Miller. Maybe I'm stretching a bit there. But nothing probably 60s, 70s, 80s, which is what I would prefer. I just didn't know any of the music. And my days of dancing have long gone anyway. But yeah, going to do a couple of quick videos today. I've posted a couple over the weekend, but I've not recorded anything since last week. I'm going to touch on about 3 subjects. One that's current. It's one of the few subjects I know anything about from the weekend because I've been in an apartment there that promised internet. The internet was down. I know nothing about British news from over the weekend, and that's something we're going to try and touch on a daily basis. Things happening in the news. I've heard the news today, and there hasn't been much there of interest to me. But one of the big news stories of the weekend was the Grand National and the disruption thereof. That's something we'll touch on in the next video. And then we're also going to look at maybe Mason Greenwood, bit of a hot potato there. Not much has been said about him lately. I've got a take on him. Might go down well with some people, possibly go down badly with more people, but it'll be my take. And if you get used to this channel, you realise that's what I do. But Budapest, yeah, just my thoughts on Budapest, I thought would give them somebody out there maybe interested. Either way, you're going to get them. From travelling from the airport into Budapest, we stayed in the centre. I was just really depressed, and I felt awful, although it's not my place to. I mean, the buildings were all 3, 4, 5 stories high, either side of the main roads, and there were buildings that looked like they haven't been touched since the Second World War. You know, and as you're driving into it from the airport into the city, which is about a 30-minute drive, you're realising that in the main, the people of Budapest don't have a lot. You know, you just knew that. You've seen people in the streets, they didn't look like they had a lot. The cars that most of them were driving weren't of a good variety and of a good age. The vans, funnily enough, the work vans seemed to be better, but that was all that you would put on a par with what you'd see in Britain. When you went out in the daytime and the night time, you just knew that there wasn't the money there that is here. And I know that's the same in lots of countries, but I just feel awful when I see people with nothing or people really struggling. There was a good few beggars on the street, which was a shame. I don't know, I was just a little bit saddened for the people. I found the people to be okay. That said, we're in Budapest airport coming home last night, and we bump into an English guy, nice fella, really nice fella. He's never going to see this, but we bumped into him anyway. My son said his daughter, because I didn't see much of his daughter, was German. The guy was telling me that he's moved to Hanover. He lives in Hanover now in Germany. He was a Cockney fella. And he was saying he found the people of Budapest really, really rude. Didn't like them at all. He said they were just not a nice people. I never seen that, but then again, I didn't have a lot to do with them. And they weren't necessarily going out the way to help you. When you were approaching them, asking them things rather than being more on the front foot. But he said he found them rude. He ate in a lot of restaurants, he said. And he said they were okay until you ordered in the restaurant. He said, but then when you ordered and they knew what you were spending, they became really rude and just not nice towards you, which, as I say, I didn't see. But that was his take on things. Funnily enough, as he was talking, he sat in front of us in a nice bar in the airport. And we sat on 2 chairs, me and my son, and he sat across from us with his daughter. There was, I think, 5 chairs there, And one of the guys from behind the bar there said, "You can't sit in those two chairs," he said to this guy. And he said, "Why not?" He said, "Because you're two different parties." He said, "But what does it matter, these two people, me and my son, don't mind us being here?" He said, "Yeah, but that's for a party at a time," which all sounded weird. And I said, "Look, we're going in 5 minutes, our flight's on its way now. We were flying about 6:30, 7 o'clock last night, Sunday night." And I said, "Look, we're going in 5 minutes." He said, "Okay then." And the guy walked away, enough to say, "Well, I'll serve you when they've gone." Then it looked like the bar manager came over a minute or two later to them, and they said, "Look," he said, "do you want a drink?" And they said, "Well, we can't. We've just been told that we can't get a drink because these two people are still here, but they are going in 5 minutes." The bar manager said, "Oh, no problem, you can have a drink." So he went and got them a drink, and he said, see what I mean? One person says you can't have a drink, the next person says you can have a drink. I didn't hear this, but as he ordered his drink, he ordered 2 halves of cider for him and his daughter. They said to him, "Halves? You only want halves? Why not pint?" And he said, "See what I mean?" And I never heard it. He said, "They're having a pop at me for only ordering half and not ordering a pint." He said, "Where else would you get that? You know, if you got that in the Rovers return, Ken Barlow would do his nutting, wouldn't he?" Anyway, I found them okay. But I've just got one very quick story that happened to me on the Saturday morning. Of all places, we're in a McDonald's, me and my son, on the Saturday morning. We wanted something to eat really quickly because we was going somewhere, and you can't get much quicker than a McDonald's. And it happened to be probably 200 yards from where we were staying. And we're in a McDonald's there, and my son had ate his food, or the bulk of his food, and gone out to make a call or to do something. I can't think what he'd gone to do. I'm sat at a table there on my own, and a guy approaches me with a young girl, Hungarian guy. Looked to be dressed okay. The young girl maybe not quite as okay. She'd have been probably 8 years old, and she wasn't a slim girl, and I'm not knocking a size or anything like that, but it's got context in what I'm going to say. She wasn't slim. She was a little bit big, I would say, for her age, but not over big, and probably pleasant enough. The guy was okay. His English was really poor, and I knew within a minute or so he was asking me, could we give them some money for food? He kept mentioning daughter, and I think he might have said no, and I'm saying, I don't understand you. I'll be honest with you, I knew straight away that he was after money for food. But I looked at them, and he wasn't that badly dressed, as I say, and she didn't look like she'd not been eating, and that's probably an awful thing to say, but it's how I felt. And I thought, well, I don't want somebody coming asking for money whilst I'm sat down finishing my meal. You know, it's not the dumb thing, really. And I think he'd picked me because I was sat on my own, I was still eating. I had a reasonable coat on. My coat didn't look, I mean, it wasn't anything special. I tend to not wear a coat, but at the time I had a coat on and it was reasonable. And I just think he thought I'd be an easy mark. And as I say, I pretended that I didn't know what he was on about. At the time, whilst I'm still eating, I'm trying to do something on my phone. I'd had no internet coverage and I'm on my phone. I'm trying to do something along with my son. My son comes back in, so I have to break off and ask my son about, I'm having a conversation. And this guy still stays there. And I thought, this guy isn't going to leave me. He's going to definitely sort of want a contribution here. And I thought, I'm probably not going to give it. I feel awful not giving it, because I hate people with nothing, as I say. But I thought, maybe he's trying it on, maybe he's doing it. Anyways, to cut a long story short, we're ready to go, and I'm saying, sorry, no understand, don't understand you, don't understand. And we leave. My son, what he does when he eats McDonald's, he gets fries and he tends to get nuggets. And he's weird, my son. He's weird in the way he eats. What he does, you get them very scrawny fries from McDonald's that are like really hard and they've got no potato with them. He throws them aside and leaves them. You get many of the fries whereby on one end of the fries they've got like a little pointy end that's a little harder, on the other end it's not. He'll bite the fry off to the pointy end and throw the pointy end back in with his nuggets. And he does that with all his fries. If it's something he thinks is a bit harder than the rest and not as much potato in it, he's not going to like it. He bites off and throws it away. And he'd not ate much that night before, and he'd had a large box of nuggets, like the 20 nuggets that you get in the UK. And often he'll get 20 nuggets, but struggles as he gets further down. He wants more than 9, but they only tend to do 20 after 9. He probably could get a 9 and a 5 or a 9 and a 6. But he gets 20, a box of 20. And often with the last 2 or 3 he'll struggle. So if memory serves, there was 2 or 3 that he'd not ate. So there's 2 or 3 nuggets there. He's not ate all of his chips, but he's ate the bulk of them. But the hard ones and the bits of ones that he spat out is in the box, so it's not really that inviting. As we get up and we walk away, I look back and I see the guy has picked up my lad's box and took it to another table, and he sat down with his daughter, and they're proceeding to eat them, or his daughter's going to eat them, and I'm thinking, oh my God. He took the box, it's got 2 or 3 nuggets, it's got like bits of chips in there, and bits of chips in there, and he's going to give it to her to eat, and I thought, oh, I can't have that. So I goes back and gives him some money. I thought, look, and I didn't give a lot, but I thought, if they're that desperate, go and get her some food. So it was legit. They wasn't trying it on. You wouldn't have somebody's leftovers if you were after just money. It was more than that. And I felt awful, and I thought to myself, why is it that some countries really just have nothing? I mean, communism's great in that everybody has the same. That as an idea for me is great. But obviously it's rolled out throughout countries, some of the bigger countries of the world, and it doesn't work. Because for everybody to have the same is all well and good if they've all got something. But the everybody's have absolutely nothing. They're downtrodden, they've got nothing. There's a few amongst them that are well in with the governments, and they're making billions and billions and billions on the back of people with nothing. Is that the oligarchs? Is that what they're called? Like Abramovich and people of that ilk, and even Putin himself. They're absolutely coining it in. That can't work. Well, it can work. It doesn't work the way that they do it. But what's the is it capitalism? Is that the opposite of communism? I think it is, and I think we're a capitalist country where people can have their own money, they can start businesses, they can earn from it. We can all earn different amounts depending on how clever we are, or how successful we are, or how much hard work we put in. That is obviously a better way, and that's probably the way the Hungarians do things. But they do it on the back of nothing. I don't know why some countries are more successful than others money-wise, why more comes into them. I'm not clever enough. But I just wish that people of Hungary had more. And that young girl with her dad, really, it gutted me. It just really, really got to me. I cannot believe that anyone would take a box with a couple of nuggets in and little bits of chips. I can't believe anybody would be that desperate to eat. And it saddened me greatly. And then, weirdly, yesterday, about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon, as we were waiting for a taxi to take us to the airport, an old woman comes past. She's got a little fag in her mouth. I'm sure I only seen the fag in her mouth later as she threw it down. As she passed us, I know she was drinking. I don't know what it was. It was a can, so it probably beer, but it may not have been. She walked to a bin. She threw her fag down and she went searching through the bin, a little bin of that size, and she takes all the what's in there out. And I'm sure all she got out of it was a pair of rubber gloves. Now, she may have been wearing the rubber gloves, so was not, but I'm sure she wasn't, and I'm sure that's what she took out. And I thought, that's all you've got from that bin. But more importantly, I thought, why would you have to be rummaging through a little bin there? But as I say, she threw a butt away, which may have been something she already picked up and smoked, and she had a can of something. And I thought, what a shame. And I know there's homeless people everywhere, but it just really got to me. So they are probably my 2 biggest overriding thoughts on Budapest. Had I have seen maybe if it is the Danube and more architecture, I might have had different thoughts, but they're the 2 thoughts I brought home, and it's just a shame, really. But me sat here in England talking to this, I can't do anything about it, but I just wish the world was a lot fairer than it is. It's a shame that isn't. Anyway, that's all from me.